Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Speak to Impact with Kaye Walker. Today, I have a special guest named Tamara Gaines, which I'm excited about because my maiden name is Gaines. And so we are probably somehow related through marriage to her husband, who is the Gaines in her family. But I think that would be fun for us to explore sometime and see
Absolutely.
if we are related, because we probably are. My dad is a genealogy fanatic, and he's traced Gaines all the way back to Wales. Like, I don't even know, like in the 1500s.
That's
So,
incredible.
according to his research, every Gaines came from that line. So,
I,
somewhere up there, I'm related to your husband, so we're related by marriage.
yeah, and there are a lot of Gaineses. My maiden name, however, is Fairbrother, and there are a lot fewer. There's less than 500 Fairbrothers the last time I did some research. And
Wow.
so that's kind of fun to get in and kind of know your history and
I
heritage.
know. I
Yeah.
love that. And they all started over on the East Coast. So then they all ended up in Texas.
There you go. And I'm from Texas and now living on the East Coast in Florida.
See? It all comes full circle.
It
That's the
really
word.
does.
All right. Well, on this podcast, I love to talk to speakers about how they became speakers because, as I'm sure you have heard the statistic, 70% of people, at least, and sometimes higher, if they were at a funeral, would rather be the person in the casket than the person speaking,
Yes.
which means people are more scared of speaking than they are of death.
Mhm.
So, if you are a public speaker, then you've had an interesting life and made some interesting, brave choices. So, I just love to hear how people ended up becoming speakers. So, let's hear how you ended up a speaker, Tamara.
Well, I spent 30 years as a meeting professional. And so that's my background is hiring speakers. And, you know, there were years where we would hire 100 speakers for one conference, or maybe I worked at an association where we had about 20 events a year
Yeah.
and hired speakers there. And so everyone from, Joe Smith that people may not know very well to Margaret Thatcher and, Barbara Bush and Michelle Obama. And so
Yeah.
I've had a wonderful journey in that. And part of the journey with meeting planning is also leadership development, which was a passion of mine. And so I had opportunities through my job to actually do some training and host webinars and that sort of thing. But the first time on stage, I was working in the direct sales arena. And so a Tupperware owned company out of Dallas, you may be familiar with it, it's Beauty Control. And big conferences, 6 to 8,000 people. And we finally broke it into two waves so that we were at like 3 to 4,000 people per event. And I had the opportunity, the president asked if I would give, one of the product presentations. And of course, I had the teleprompter. I got to, buy a new dress and have hair and makeup, and I felt pretty awesome. And then my very first time on stage was to a group of 4,000 people, mostly women. And
Your first time ever.
first time ever on
Oh my
stage.
God.
And I really enjoyed it. And the head of production, Chuck Gideon, was so fantastic. And he's like, Tamara, you just lit up and you did such a great job. And that accolade, that affirmation was the thing that planted the seed of, wow, I enjoyed it. I apparently wasn't too bad at it. And now, how can I do it again? And what would my message be? And so
Yeah.
I kind of left that event and sat on it for a couple of years trying to think what my message would be. And then without trying, I found my message through being a big sister, through Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I was paired with a young lady who was 12 at the time, very low self-confidence. And I had very low self-confidence as a child and somehow had kind of come through that. And so I just started doing a lot of research on, you know, for someone like me who was not a parent that needed to try to develop these skills on how to build confidence in this young person. And I wasn't finding exactly what I was looking for. But through my notes, a friend said, "You've got a book here." And so I wrote a book in 2015 called The Pillars of Confidence, and then had a message to be able to go out and speak on. And so that's how it started, but it was very dabbling, right? Because I had a full-time job. And so, speak every now and then, small groups, small associations, a couple times a year, not a big deal. But then last year went full time and have just gone gangbusters. So it's been a lot of fun.
That is so exciting. And I love that you found a need and filled it yourself.
Exactly.
I feel like so many people could change the world if they would just do that. What
Yeah.
is it I need? What do I need to learn? What do I need to figure out? I'm going to figure it out and then I'm going to teach it to other people. Like, I feel like that's the basis of being a world changer, an influencer, somebody that goes out and makes a difference in the world. So good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's been a journey. Obviously, here we are 10 years later from the book and from this time period, and I'm really just now starting to hone my craft, right? So
Yeah.
I know what I looked for in speakers as a meeting professional. So I think that gave me a leg up I was quickly working on my one pager. I was quickly working on what makes me easy to work with, and had the website, had all the things, got plugged in to, national associations and other groups so that I could learn and be a sponge. And I think, what you know, get out of that is what you put into it. And so I was definitely pouring myself into it as much as possible in that first year.
What do you think was the key to your success in becoming a speaker?
Oh gosh, I think just really the passion to help. I think, all the years that I was focused on the professional development of others, it really is about, what do they need to grow? And, my niche is that professional development, through whether it be executive coaching or through speaking, talking to organizations about how they're building their leadership pipeline for better succession planning and the value and the why of here we are in a day where 10,000 baby boomers are retiring each day. And that's going to be happening over the next 6 years. And so, how is our workforce changing? And are we investing in our people? Are we investing in our future leaders? And what does that look like? And so, I think that's been, the key there is constantly focusing on what's the benefit to others, whether it's the individual or the organization, and then ultimately, hopefully their community.
So thinking of the other people, thinking of the value you can bring to people instead of thinking, oh, how can I get on stage, right?
Absolutely. And if you know John Maxwell, I mean, he talks a lot about, what's the value you can bring. And, it sounds a little kitschy every now and then, but I will often start a conversation with how can I bring value to you today? And of course, I always think about John when I say that. But I think it's a good reminder of what is it that we can do for others instead of always being what do I need?
What is the most interesting answer you've got from that question? Asking somebody, how can I bring value to you today?
Oh, from that. Oh gosh. It's usually I almost always get a giggle.
I bet you do.
I
I
almost
would
always get
giggle.
some kind of, like, oh, wasn't expecting that or get a giggle. I don't know that I know of anything that was really the most interesting. I think it was just the opening to whatever it is they needed, whether it was time or advice or me to send them a document, whatever that is.
I love that. I think I might adopt that.
Yeah, I think you should.
Plus, I think it's a really good conversation starter and like instantly builds connection.
Absolutely.
I can see the value in that question of what
Yeah.
value can I bring to you today?
And the other way that I use value is I find myself, I write like I speak, which is not always, grammatically correct. But, if I'm writing an email and, I'd love to get together with you. Would I really love it? I don't know. And should I be using the word love in an email communication to you? Probably not. Not yet, when it's too early. But if I can reword that of, I would value some time on your calendar. Well,
Right.
now that's a little more impactful.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
really good way to look at it.
Yeah. I'm using that too.
Yeah.
Thanks, John Maxwell.
Right. He's awesome. Yeah, words
Yeah,
really matter.
they do.
I'm really curious about your background as as an event planner and then knowing like what people are looking for when they're looking for speakers. So I would love I would love I would value very much any advice you have to, the listeners who are trying to get booked as speakers. Like, what are the biggest things they can do? Like the most impactful changes they can make, or the most impactful reach outs, or shifts they need to do? I don't know. From
Yeah.
your point of view as as a meeting planner.
I think from the meeting planner's point of view, your marketing is important from the standpoint of have a professional presence, meaning what does your website look like?
Mhm.
Because that's the first place that we will go. The first or second place is your LinkedIn. What does that look
Mhm.
like? And how much information is there? Am I going to gain any insights into your thought process or maybe some of your teachings or offerings, through both of those vehicles? And so that's really important. If we get on the phone, then know that I'm going to give you about 15 minutes. And that's about it. And so you're better off asking for only 15 minutes on the front end. And if you can do it via email versus a cold call,
Oh,
that's my personal preference. Now,
yeah.
it's not to say that I don't make telephone calls. Generally, I get voicemail, right? And so,
Right.
I leave an upbeat message and then follow that up with an email if I possibly can. But to be able to get to someone on their time is always good and important. And understanding that a lot of the meeting planners are booking speakers all year long for different events, or if they only have one or two events, they're booking a lot of speakers. So there's a limited amount of time. When I was in the corporate world, one event, we might have 30 speakers, four main stage speakers, and the rest were breakout sessions. Well, in
Mhm.
order to get those 30 speakers, we're watching a lot of videos. We're making a lot of connections. We're also working with bureaus to help streamline that
Yeah.
process a little bit. But for those, creating videos, knowing that you have 10 to 30 seconds at the very beginning to capture my attention as a planner. And so, and then after that 30 seconds, okay, I'm intrigued enough because the idea in that first 30 seconds is, are they polished? Are they entertaining? What's the energy level? Is that a good fit for my audience? Then I might go into another minute and a half to see if the content is a good fit. What am I learning from that? And then I might, if I'm really intrigued, then I'll go and I'll watch the rest of your video, which might be 4 minutes or 5 minutes or what have you. And so, so many start off with promotional stuff at the beginning of their video. And there are times when it's like, no, and planners will just move on from that. So you want to definitely be very captivating in that first session. And then one pagers are important because you might reach out and we're not ready yet, but I want to move your one pager into a folder for prospecting.
Oh, yeah.
Or I might even print your one pager and put it on my office wall, where I have everything that I'm collecting for that event so that when I sit down with my team to look for speakers, I have information. And did I speak to them? Do I know what their rate is? And then how does that fit into the agenda that we need to provide?
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a
That's really
lot.
good info. If they, okay, if they want to speak at a thing, but they don't know there's a thing to speak at, and you're looking for speakers for your thing, how does that connection happen from the speaker to you? How do you find each other?
It's different. So, like I said, we used bureaus. I learned back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Um, had a HR conference that I was planning at the time, about 3,500 people that attended. We had 100 breakout sessions, and we always had three keynotes, and one was usually someone notable. And this particular year, we had booked Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, and her mother passed away 2 days before she was due to speak for us. And so we're already getting ready to be on site for the event, and the Bureau handled everything. And we actually had that happen on two different occasions. We were contracted with George Stephanopoulos, and he got the gig at Good Morning America, I think 2 or 3 weeks before he was to speak for us. And
Yeah.
he couldn't, with his new job, he couldn't speak. And so again, the Bureau handled all of that. So from the speakers, or excuse me, from the planner's point of view, having a relationship with a couple of bureaus is really important. And I say a couple. I usually only worked with two, on occasion three bureaus at any given time, because you develop a relationship, there's a cadence, and they know you and they will pitch you to the client. So I think knowing that you can, try to connect with some bureaus would be important. But again, you've got to have all your collateral and have everything ready, because they're working with professionals. They
Right.
want people that are bookable. The other thing is, like, eSpeakers is a great opportunity, great website, to be listed on, and meeting planners are going out there. It's a wonderful tool for planners. And then back to, just the cold call. If you speak at a particular event, maybe you offer your services, for a local chapter event at no charge in a particular arena, whether it's the insurance or financial or HR or what have you, to get your foot in the door and get some positive feedback. And then that allows you to then A, ask for a referral, but then B, go look and see, okay, well, I spoke at this chapter event. How many other chapter events are in this state or in this region that I might be able to market myself to?
That's a good thought. As a speaker yourself, which bureaus do you work with? Like, who represents you?
So I actually work with Armstrong Speakers. Alex Armstrong is one, and I work with Category 6, Sherry Storm. And I do a lot of work in the financial arena, because the last decade of my job was in the
Yeah.
financial arena. And so I have a lot of connections there, and understand the lingo and the language and the pain points.
Yeah.
But then I also have history with HR associations, so I understand the HR world, and then also meetings and hospitality. So, I just have different connections in different
Yeah.
places, which has been beneficial for me.
Yeah, that's really good. You sound like you know a lot of people, a lot of the right people.
It's what happens when you get old. Like, you just make a lot of friends.
Oh, I love it.
Make a lot of friends along the way.
You know, that's so good. So, gosh, I have so many questions. I'm just trying to think, do I ask you questions as a speaker or as an event planner? Because my brain's
Yeah,
going. This is
do
so
whatever feels good.
I love that you are on both sides of that, because most speakers have never been on the other side.
Yeah.
And the whole getting booked to speak is just a mysterious process that they have no idea how to make work. And if it does, it was a fluke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think it's becoming a little bit less of a mystery. Even the speakers that I know, that have been doing this for a long time that maybe didn't have that history in the past, they have formed those relationships with the planners over the years. And they've been able to do that because they provide value and because they provide great content, and, and then they get that feedback. And so, yes, you're to your point, it is still a mystery to some, but hopefully through vehicles like this with podcasts, and I've presented on a few other speaker related podcasts from that planner point of view. Hopefully we're starting to get the word out a little bit.
Yeah. How can people find event planners? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is definitely a way. I mean, almost every company has a training department. And I think it depends on honing your audience, not trying to boil the ocean of everybody's a prospect. Maybe start with, what's your area of expertise, or, again, in my area, I go hospitality, HR, and financial. Those are the buckets that I play in. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to speak for, a home builders association.
Yeah.
I can do that too.
Right.
But that's not who I'm targeting. Those are the people that come find me,
Right.
But when I'm looking at who I'm prospecting, it's generally within those three areas. And if I'm looking at associations, everything's listed, and you just do some Google searches, but it does take hours of research. And some people certainly have team members that can help with that, and
Right.
I do not. I'm a solopreneur, so it's me. And then I just make sure that I'm time blocking, calendar blocking appropriately, so that I'm allowing enough time each week for development, content development, my own development, and then also allowing enough for prospecting.
Yeah, that's really important. A lot of people don't set aside enough time to go either prepare themselves or to go make the connections.
Yeah.
And it's equally important. You've got to hone your skill, but if you're not out there making connections, nobody's gonna ever hear about you.
Yeah. Well, and connections isn't always about selling myself. It's not always about selling a service. Oftentimes it's I see something and I think, oh, this might be a really great article that this person would appreciate. And it's a touch point.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think just that outreach with no expectation on the other end
Yeah.
is it's welcomed, right? And
Right.
I had a speaker that I hired, gosh, probably 3 or 4 times, and she was the master at the touch point of
Oh,
just staying in contact about every 6 months and staying top of mind. And
absolutely.
I went many touch points without needing to book her. But
Yeah.
then when I did, I was like, oh yeah, I'm so glad you reached out. You'd be perfect for this.
That's so smart. I love that. So, do you have any interesting stories of things that have happened to you on stage that you want to share? Like really amazing ones, funny ones, embarrassing ones?
I don't I was at an event recently, and someone was talking about this, or I might have been even listening to a podcast, and people, speakers were talking about these horror stories or how they had bombed, and different things like that. And I've been so blessed to not have that experience. And I'm gonna knock, yeah,
Yeah,
because
knock on wood.
it could certainly, the more you do, the more you open yourself up
Yeah.
to those, those opportunities. Um, and I don't know that I've had anything really unique or notable. I love being able to, I use Talkadot. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
I love Talkadot. And so I use that, and I'm a positive affirmation person. I love to give them, I love to get them. And
Same.
so to have that affirmation of a job well done, and to get the comments, and then of course to have the leads as well. Um, that's been invaluable, especially as a new speaker, because the reality is, I don't know of any speaker who feels like they 100% have it all together. I think we're always wanting to grow and do
Yeah.
better in a particular area. And so I still very much feel like I'm this newbie and I'm honing my craft constantly.
Yeah.
And, so I think all of those are really positive things, but they haven't yielded any memorable stories yet.
Yet. And when
Yeah.
they do, I wish for you them to be amazing, memorable stories,
Thank you. Yes,
not embarrassing stories.
that's right. That's right. I haven't had my, zipper down, or I haven't had a wardrobe malfunction. Yeah, no, haven't
That's
had anything like that. I'm sure I had something in my teeth one time, but the audience was too far away to know.
I've had a couple of underwear moments. That's embarrassing because the audience is low and your dress isn't always long enough for the people on the front row when you're up high on stage. And yeah, I've seen pictures of me where there were things peeking out, and I was like, oh
You're
my,
like, okay,
you
note
gotta
to
wear
self.
longer dresses
Yeah, longer dress on stage. Exactly.
or leggings or tights or
I
something.
know. I almost always wear pants, and
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm not a huge, like, I like dresses and I certainly wear dresses,
yeah.
but for dresses to look good on me, I feel like I need a 3-inch heel. And I'm telling you, since COVID, I mean, my shoe selection has just changed, immensely. And
Yeah.
and so with slacks, I can I you know
Yeah.
I can lower the heel just a little bit and still look very professional, and I'm comfortable. It's great for the AV team. They love being able just to put the mic pack right on the back of the
Waistband.
pants. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good thing. And if I do wear a dress, I absolutely think about, all right, I need my Spanx on so that it's a heavier, rim
Yeah.
to hold the microphone. That's the only reason why I'm wearing the Spanx, is just to hold the mic pack.
That's so funny. I know. I do. I love dresses and I always wear dresses on stage. And then I get there and I'm like, oh crap. So like they
Yeah,
gotta get
run
really
it through.
creative with my bra.
Oh
At
yeah.
the back of my bra. Oh my gosh. There's a lot of up close and personal with the AV guys.
Oh yeah. I just lift my jacket up and just do what you need to do. Come on, we're
Go for it.
friends. We're friends now.
Right? Yeah, you make instant friends with the AV people. It's so funny.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that. Oh. Well, your first stage was 4,000 people. I can't even imagine. That is crazy. What are your goals? Like what's your big audience goal for the future?
I'm in a very different place now in my life, starting a new career,
Yeah.
than I would have been had I started this 20 years ago. I did a lot of ladder climbing in the executive world, and really, achieved and attained a lot of my goals through that. And with this, I know what I don't want. And, as a speaker, I don't want to be a road warrior. And I know I've got many speaker friends that are, and I love that for them. Those are the people that I follow because I want to learn things from them, but I don't aspire to be them. And, I balance the coaching and speaking. And I love that balance because with the coaching, it might be individual executive coaching, or it might be small group coaching that I do with groups of 8 to 10 people, which I really thrive on as well. And that's virtual. And, I might go in and do the occasional workshop and that sort of thing. But with my speaking, my goal is to have, 12 to 15 paid speaking gigs a year. and that it allows me to bring value where I'm going. And then if that yields into my consulting work on succession planning or my coaching work, then I love that the speaking helps to feed that. But my sweet little 83-year-old mom lives with us, and she's
Oh,
still active, and but I'm here and I want to spend time with her.
yeah. Yeah.
And we were able to sit at the island today and have some soup for lunch, and chit chat about
Mhm.
our day and that sort. And so it's important for me right now in my life that I'm able to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love traveling, so I don't think I would mind very much being a road warrior, but probably my family would
Right.
not be very happy about it.
There's a difference, though, Kelly, in traveling,
Yes,
loving traveling,
that's true.
and then just work trips all the time or back to back. And it seems like travel has become such a challenge these days, right? It's more unpredictable with flight delays and just a lot of the unknowns.
Yeah.
And I find that it's exhausting. I still travel, several times a month. And I make sure, like, if I'm flying from Dallas to Tampa and I get home at noon, I'm not booking anything else the rest of
Oh
the.
no, you
I'm
take
gonna
the rest of the day
unpack,
off.
I'm gonna unwind, I'm gonna decompress,
Yeah.
and there was a time 20 years ago I didn't need any of that decompressing, but now I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
My husband travels a lot for work, and so um he can be the road warrior for a couple more years.
Yeah. You stay home and hold down the fort.
That's right. And take
There's
care.
definitely a difference between going on a trip and just going to speak somewhere and then coming back home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see that. I would like
Well,
to always combine a
yes,
fun trip with a speaking thing, which
absolutely.
which is why I do my speaking cruise.
Yeah,
That fills both for me.
absolutely.
So I
Well, I
run the
told you,
workshop.
you being from Utah, I've got a speaking gig in Utah. I've got friends in Utah. So my
Yeah.
husband and I are going to make a long weekend out of it. And same thing, I've got a speaking gig in Maine, and we're going to make a long weekend out of that. And
Yeah.
any
That's the way to
chance,
do it.
yeah, any chance that we can where it works to do that, then, that's fun. I was
Yeah.
really fortunate for the 12 years that I was working in the direct sales industry as a
Mhm.
planner. I
Yeah.
also did incentive travel. And so
Ooh, nice.
I would have the site visit for the destination plus the actual trip where we would take anywhere from, 250, 500, or 1,000 people. Those were not, that part wasn't as fun. It was great to see them, and they had a gift in their room every night. And so there was a
Oh,
lot of joy out of their joy, but it was work. It was a lot of
yeah.
hard work.
That's not a vacation.
That is not a vacation, but the front end stuff, it's like, okay, I can make a vacation out of this, and take advantage of the travel perks of having status and that sort. And I worked for companies that had much bigger budgets. The last 10 years I've worked for a not-for-profit association where you spend a lot of time trying to do more with less, right?
Yes.
So I've lived very different lifestyles
Right.
in travel, and then of course my husband reminds me, he's like, we're not we're not spending company money. So this is what our vacation's going to look like.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, those company cards, those are nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Those are
still
nice.
have one. I have one now. It's just I pay the bill.
It's your own company.
It's
So
my
you
own
gotta
company.
pay for it.
Exactly.
That's funny. I love
Yeah.
it. Oh, wow. This was fun. You're fascinating. You've had a super interesting career path. I love it.
You are super thoughtful, and I appreciate the opportunity and the invitation, and look forward to listening and watching more of your shows that you're putting out and the great content, and following you, and just
Thank
learning
you.
from you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I could learn a lot from you too for the whole event planning stuff. Because I usually just have my own events and speak at them. And, I invite a lot of people come, but to be on a big, huge stage and, get paid a lot for it, that's a goal of mine that I have not hit yet, but I'm excited to hit. So maybe we will keep following each other and I'll pick your
Absolutely.
brain sometimes.
Absolutely. And maybe there's an opportunity with the cruise to have a meeting planner's perspective
Yeah.
there that could do a little coaching with some
Ooh,
folks as well.
that's actually a
Hmm.
really good idea.
Yeah, I just came up with it. It's like
We
brand
could,
new.
yeah, we could plan a cruise just for that.
There you go.
Like have a how to become a professional paid speaker cruise. That could
Yeah,
be
there's
really fun.
there are a lot of wonderful people that have great experiences in the speaking arena that, much like yourself, spend time helping other speakers grow. And so again, I applaud you for the work that
Thank
you're
you.
doing. And if I can be of service in any other way in the future, let's keep in touch.
Definitely. And if anybody listening wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. So my name is Tamra, Tamra Gaines. And so LinkedIn, Tamara Gaines. And then my website is also tamaragaines.com.
Well,
So
that's easy.
very simple, very easy. And yeah, would love to be connected with any of your listeners.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Yay, you were really fun and very educational. I feel like I learned a lot.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Well, you guys, thanks for listening. If you have any questions for Tamara, reach out to her. If you would like to be on the podcast, reach out to me. And I will put those in the show notes. I'll put in Tamara's info. I'll put in my info. So reach out if you want to do more stuff with us. All right. Have a great week. We will see you all in the next episode. See ya.